What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm building this wooden puzzle box that looks simple, but it won't open unless you know the secret. No keys, no electronics, just good old-fashioned woodworking and a hidden locking mechanism that'll stump almost anyone. And the best part is, I made it out of scrap wood. Can you open it? Let's get into the video and see. I started with a bunch of scrap pieces I had lying around the shop. Nothing fancy, but some of the scraps left over from some shelving I recently acquired. I ripped the pieces down to 4 inches wide, and then I cut them to length on the miter saw, removing all the rough edges whenever possible. The box itself is simple. 4 sides, a bottom, and a removable lid. I set my table saw depth to a 1/4 inch and cut a 1/2 inch wide rabbet on both the long edges of the short sides and on all 4 edges of the long sides. This was a first for me, so I really felt like a beginner trying to do this. It turned out okay after a couple tries, and I had plenty of scraps lying around, so at least I got to learn and practice a new skill that hopefully I'll revisit and possibly master one day. Until then, I can live with some of the minor mistakes that were made and try to improve on the next one. After all, I built this box for fun, and I'm my own worst critic. I check all of the pieces for fitment, and so far they fit together nicely. For the glue up, I use waterproof wood glue and only apply it to the edges of the short sides. Try to keep it light here to avoid a lot of squeeze out. The less clean up, the better. They go together pretty well, but I still like to check for square at all times just to be sure. I add on my clamps and give it a good check before applying the pressure. Thousand subscribers. Thank you all for the continued support, and a big shout out to my first channel member, K-Law. Thank you for joining the scrap pile. It is appreciated. I used basic rabbet joints for the walls, but decided later to come back and add these little purple heart corner slats just to make it pop and match the handle that I will be installing. They're a small detail, but they give it a custom look that kind of looks like I knew what I was doing and another chance to try something new. So while the glue dries, I cut some scrap down to 3/4 by 3/4 inch strips to make the rails for the locking mechanism. It doesn't take much, but I rip some extra in case mistakes are made. Back on the miter saw, I cut the rail pieces down to size, 6 pieces total. If you're interested, I'll put a cut list in the description. I square the pieces up in a vise and punch the center of each one. Then, as careful as possible, I drill a 3/16 hole down each center, going real slow and making sure none of the pieces shift or get drilled sideways at an angle. I clean up the rails with a little light sanding, removing any burrs or splinters that might be in the holes. Any obstruction and the locking bars may not work correctly, so I want to be sure that they are smooth inside and out before mounting them into the box. Now this is where the fun begins. Instead of using traditional latches or magnets, I cut the heads and points off of 4 1/8 of an inch thick nails. They need to be about 2.5 inches long and as smooth as you can possibly get them. If they're coated, the coating needs to be removed as well as any ridges that they may have. I tried to round over the ends so they hit the rail holes perfectly, kind of like using a barrel bolt lock on a door. They will need to be mounted so they sit perfectly in the rail groove and act as a lock for the lid. With the inner part of the lid in place, I flip the box over and glue the 2 short rails at the center mark on the lid. Then the 4 long rails are glued to the sides of the box at the corners, 2 on each side. Make sure to clean up as much squeeze out as possible and avoid getting glue in your rail holes. Once they are in place for a few minutes, I gently remove the box from the lid, making sure that the rails do not move. Then I just add a couple clamps to each corner and make sure that I get a good strong bond between the rails and the side walls. When the glue is dried, I just remove the clamps and then test fit the box back on the lid to make sure that nothing has shifted. Once my test fitment is complete, I mount the inner part of the lid to the actual lid and secure it in place with wood glue and brad nails. Make sure it's even all the way around before attaching it to the lid. Once I'm satisfied with it, I give it a couple pop pops, mostly to hold it in place while the glue dries, and then I can continue on. Take note that I've still not attached the bottom. I wanted to make sure everything worked correctly before doing that. Now for a test. I wipe the bars down real good with wax paper, hoping to help them glide more freely through the rails. The smoother the better for this project. Once they're in place, I give it a couple turns side to side to make sure I can see them moving in either direction and that the lid is locked in place. Now with the hard part complete, I install a scrap piece of Purple Heart as my handle. I just add some glue and center it up on the lid. Then I weight it down to hold it in place until the glue dries, just long enough for me to be able to shoot a couple brad nails in it from underneath. Off camera, I decided to try my hand at installing those little purple accents in the corners using a miter saw. It was danger all around, so I decided not to show the footage because I didn't want the safety police to come and take my saw away. I have since found a how-to video and will definitely use a jig on the table saw in the near future. It didn't turn out too bad, however, but a few blemishes were made here and there that I can live with and vow to do better on the next one. After some extreme sanding, I decided to go with a poly clear coat to help those purple accents stand out. After being in the sun for a while, the colors really did seem to pop. Normally I would have just oiled it, but I figured with the method used to unlock the box, I would need a harder shell to protect it from scarring. I continue around with a poly and sand it in between the coats until it held that wet look that you normally get from a good clear coat. And there it is, a custom built puzzle box with a locking mechanism that works on physics, not force. Install the lid and tilt it side to side till you hear it lock. No matter how much it's shaking, the lid will not come off unless you know the secret. And here's the secret revealed: inertia. By spinning the box, the locking bars slide out to the corners, allowing the lid to be removed. It takes a little practice, but once you get the hang of it, the lid seems to unlock every time. This was a really fun build, and if you've got a pile of offcuts and some wood glue, you can build one too. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have ideas for what I should build next, drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this build or learned something new, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button on the way out, or join the channel for exclusive perks and updates. Shout out to K-Law for being our first member. You are appreciated. Keep building and turning scraps into treasure, and I'll see you on the next one. Some woodworking, lock 'em neck, Mickey Vicky's, Yikasakapoochies. That'll stump almost anyone who touches it, including me. My bad. I thought it was locked. That looks like something. Something on my glasses I can't see. Whatever. Welcome to somewhere. Welcome to the jungle, baby. Today I'm building a wooden. What's a wooden? Today I'm building a simple puzzle wooden something somebody built. Some dude built it. Who built it? Hello? Is this thing on? Test, test.